Curiosity AIs. Roman Civil Wars. The Year of the Four Emperors. In the year 68 AD, the Roman Empire stood at a crossroads. The death of Nero, the last emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, ignited a firestorm of civil unrest and political upheaval. Over the course of the next year, four men would rise and fall as emperor in rapid succession: Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and finally Vespasian. This chaotic period, known as the Year of the Four Emperors, would test the resilience of Rome like never before, and it all began with the collapse of Nero's tyrannical reign. Nero had ruled Rome for 14 years, beginning with promise but descending into madness and cruelty. He alienated much of the Roman aristocracy, executed rivals, and pursued personal pleasures at the expense of governance. Nero's infamous decision to blame the Great Fire of Rome on the Christians is just one example of his desperate attempts to maintain control as public sentiment turned against him. By 68 AD, rebellion was brewing. One of the earliest signs of discontent came from the provinces. In Hispania, modern Spain, a veteran governor named Servius Sulpicius Galba, deeply offended by Nero's excesses, declared himself the rightful emperor. This act of defiance emboldened other military leaders to withdraw their loyalty from Nero, creating a fracture in the unity of Rome's legions. Galba's forces began marching toward Rome, and as the cracks in Nero's power grew, the Senate abandoned him. With no escape and nowhere to turn, Nero took his own life in June 68 AD. His death was the final blow to the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which had ruled Rome since Augustus. The empire was now without a ruler, and Galba, seemingly the most powerful man in the provinces, assumed the throne. Galba's reign began with high expectations. He was a man of military discipline, respected for his long service to Rome. However, Galba's reputation for severity soon became his downfall. At 70 years old, Galba was known for his inflexible and harsh demeanor, which did not endear him to the people, the Senate, or, most critically, the military. One of Galba's first acts was to punish soldiers and administrators who had been loyal to Nero. He refused to pay the Praetorian Guard, the elite soldiers responsible for protecting the emperor, the traditional donative they expected when a new emperor took the throne. This decision alienated a powerful group that could make or break emperors. In his quest to consolidate power, Galba made another misstep. He adopted a man named Lucius Calpurnius Piso as his heir, bypassing Otho, one of his most prominent supporters. Otho, a former ally of Nero and the governor of Lusitania, had hoped to succeed Galba. Feeling betrayed, Otho conspired with the disillusioned Praetorian Guard. On January 15, 69 AD, Otho struck. The Praetorian Guard assassinated Galba in a brutal attack in the Roman Forum, beheading him and parading his severed head through the streets. After just 7 months as emperor, Galba was dead, and Otho swiftly took his place. Otho's reign, like Galba's, would be short-lived, lasting only 3 months. Initially, Otho appeared to have the support of Rome. He was seen as a man who could restore stability after Galba's harsh rule. However, Otho faced an immediate challenge from the north. The legions stationed along the Rhine River had not recognized either Galba or Otho as emperor. Instead, they declared their own general, Aulus Vitellius, emperor in January 69 AD, before Otho even had a chance to establish his authority. Vitellius, a career soldier with the support of the powerful Germanic legions, began marching his army toward Italy to claim the throne for himself. Otho, recognizing the threat Vitellius posed, decided to meet him in battle. In March 69 AD, Otho's forces confronted Vitellius' legions at the Battle of Bedriacum, near Cremona. It was a hard-fought battle, but Vitellius' troops, seasoned from years of defending Rome's northern frontier, gained the upper hand. Otho, seeing defeat as inevitable and wishing to spare Rome further bloodshed, made a drastic decision. Rather than prolong the civil war, Otho committed suicide. He left behind a note for his soldiers, imploring them to make peace with Vitellius. In a rare act of self-sacrifice, Otho ended his own life after just 95 days as emperor. With Otho's death, Vitellius entered Rome as emperor, bringing with him the support of the legions from the Rhine. His rise was celebrated, but any hopes that Vitellius would restore stability were soon dashed by his behavior. Vitellius indulged in extravagant feasts and games, spending lavishly while neglecting the governance of the empire. Vitellius' excessive lifestyle quickly earned him the disdain of Rome's political elites and the military. His lack of discipline and growing financial strain alienated those who had once supported him. Even worse for Vitellius, a new challenger was rising in the east. Titus Flavius Vespasianus, or Vespasian, was a general of great repute. He had been tasked with putting down the Jewish revolt in Judea, where he had earned the loyalty of the eastern legions. With the empire in chaos and Vitellius showing little concern for the broader problems of Rome, Vespasian's supporters urged him to take action. In July 69 AD, the legions in Egypt and the eastern provinces declared Vespasian emperor. Vespasian, a man of humble origins, had spent years commanding Rome's armies and building a reputation for competence. His military experience and the loyalty of the eastern legions gave him a solid foundation to challenge Vitellius. Vespasian's forces, under the command of his general Antonius Primus, moved quickly across the empire. By October, they had reached northern Italy, and Vitellius' forces met them at the Second Battle of Bedriacum. Vitellius' troops were defeated, and Vespasian's path to Rome was now open. As Vespasian's army advanced toward Rome, Vitellius found himself increasingly isolated. His allies deserted him, and even the Praetorian Guard, who had once backed his rise, withdrew their support. Desperate to hold on to power, Vitellius attempted to negotiate, but it was too late. On December 20, 69 AD, Vespasian's troops entered Rome. Vitellius was captured, dragged through the streets by a mob, and executed in a brutal public spectacle. His body was thrown into the Tiber River. With his death, the civil war that had ravaged Rome for over a year finally came to an end. With Vitellius dead, Vespasian was the undisputed ruler of Rome. His first priority was to restore order and stability to the empire. Vespasian was a practical and efficient ruler, known for his sense of duty and modesty. He quickly set about rebuilding Rome's finances, strengthening the empire's defenses, and completing the war in Judea, which would culminate in the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD. Vespasian's reign marked the beginning of the Flavian dynasty, which would rule Rome for nearly 3 decades. Under Vespasian, the empire entered a period of relative peace and prosperity, known as the Pax Romana. His rule, in stark contrast to the chaos of the Year of the Four Emperors, brought stability and restored faith in the imperial system. The Year of the Four Emperors remains one of the most turbulent periods in Roman history. It was a year marked by rapid changes in leadership, brutal civil war, and the realization that Rome's emperor was no longer chosen by birthright or Senate approval, but by the legions. Vespasian's rise to power demonstrated that military support was the true source of authority in the empire. The chaotic events of 68 to 69 AD forever altered the balance of power in Rome, shifting it firmly into the hands of those who commanded the armies. The civil war, while devastating, also set the stage for the Flavians to bring stability back to the Roman world, proving once again the resilience of the Roman Empire even in its darkest hours.
Thanks for watching.
If you like this content, please consider subscribing.